Alaikum. Peace be upon you. You are on News and Views with Hassan Logad on Salam Media. This hour is brought to you by Africa Muslim Agency. Hashtag fired up with Hafiz Imran Chunara, personal excellence mentor and CEO of African Muslim Agency. Uh, so we get them on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I now want to apologize to my sister and comrade Phillippa, who is going to tell us briefly about this poetry reading session called Political Revival, the crisis of inhumanity under the shadow of Gaza and Stilfontein. It features two inputs, speaker Haidar Eid from Palestine, Gaza, and Sabelo Nguni. And the poets that will be reading there is Deepika Nat, Stacey Hardy, Hassan Logat, Dr. Phillippa Ya de Villiers, Kabelo Mofokeng, and Ellen Kolski Howitz from Botsotso. Dr. Phillippa, welcome. This event takes place at 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 29th March at the Forge, okay, and the commune. Could you tell us a little bit more why this is important, what the theme means for all of us, Phillippa, and then we would like you to read one of your favorite poems to whet the appetites for the comrades who are listening to us.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the honor to speak about these very important issues. This is really a crisis of inhumanity. The news that's coming out of the West Bank today, with the lynching and the abduction of the filmmaker from No Other Land, it's just there's the impunity that we're witnessing. It's very important that we stand up and we say no. We, as much as we're being ignored, we still have to stand up and refuse this inhumanity. And I would like to read a poem. So I'm very glad to be part of this event, and because there's also been there's always been a pushback about what about Sudan, what about Congo, what about Stilfontein, but actually Gaza is a way to focalize inhumanity. It doesn't diminish the struggles or the suffering of anyone else. It actually amplifies it, because it helps us to see the human side of it. Because of the murder of all those children, it means the murder of the future, for people of Palestine. And that's something that we can all relate to as human beings. So I'm in the humanities. I lecture creative writing. And
I wanted to talk a bit about that. I wanted to talk for a few seconds on that so that you could end off with your poem. What is it that you do at the university? Because it gives you like a lecturer in creative writing. And how may our listeners benefit from that?
Well, basically, I help people to find their creative voice, and it's quite a rigorous program, because creativity is a very competitive field. So as a department, we sort of mimic that. So it's quite competitive. It's difficult to get into, but once you're in, you get the support to develop your creative voice. So a lot of it is reading based. So you can't be a writer without being a reader. So I would like to read a poem by Mahmoud Darwish, which gave birth to a poem that I wrote in response. Is that okay, Hassan?
Please, that sounds so beautiful.
Okay, so this poem, and this is really about the crisis of humanity. Mahmoud Darwish was a poet who spoke about his land. His land was his body of work. And the poem is called A River Dies of, from his final volume. A river was here, and it had two banks and a heavenly mother who nursed it on drops from the clouds. A small river moving slowly, descending from the mountain peaks, visiting villages and tents like a charming, lively guest, bringing oleander trees and date palms to the valley and laughing to the nocturnal revelers on its banks. Drink the milk of the clouds and water the horses and fly to Jerusalem and Damascus. Sometimes it sang heroically, at others passionately. It was a river with two banks and a heavenly mother who nursed it on drops from the clouds. But they kidnapped its mother, so it ran short of water and died slowly of thirst. So,
Oh, so powerful. Yeah.
and
And if
so
you're
my,
fasting and you think of all the water,
yeah,
really.
yeah. And you think of that hunger, that
Mm.
need, that desire for freedom that humans
Yeah.
have. Um, so my poem is called Lament for a Dying River.
Oh,
Like silk, the sound of a language we have yet to learn. Soft, light, gentle. We heard it once in another room on a day we barely remember. The sound of a human laughing or weeping. We recall wanting to enter the room, take in their being, our own, softer for seeing. Now we grapple language clumsily, trying to make our Father's face. We yearn for God. We call this faith. To channel the grace of water to the desert where children are murdered by our obedience.
Philippa. Philippa. Philippa, are you there? It. You something you're frozen. Your poem has been read finished.
Is it? It's finished, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
No,
read
I
it,
think
I
that
read it
you
to the
froze.
internet. Yeah.
Okay. Just Philippa, before we go, lament for a dying river. This idea of call and respond or responding to that is quite a creative. Is it quite a methodology in your professional understanding that you
Well,
respond or have conversations with those who have gone?
I think literature is an endless river. We look back to our ancestors all the time. We draw from our ancestors. This is a tradition that we're carrying forward. So it's that respect. And for me, because I sort of move between different identities, so I feel like the strongest identity for me is that of freedom, of people who are fighting for freedom. That feels like who I am.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you raised in the earlier part of the discussion. There is no competition about those who are suffering. Rather, I think it's a call that we should all flow together in tackling those powers that invariably are involved in all this kind of nyaka nyakas, as they would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And we have to hold firm. We have to also support each other to hold firm and to not fight each other and not
yeah,
just, not destroy each other. I mean, there are certain individuals who are sort of liberal in their ways of being. And then sometimes we want to cancel them and we want to throw them out. And,
yeah.
and I feel that this is not a time for that. This is a time to find every bit of humanity that we can and bring it to bear on this tragedy that we're witnessing.
In the earlier interview, Philippa, we discussed, or we will be discussing later, it's been recorded, how the right are organizing, how Rob Hershoff and others are trying to bring together right wing podcasters. And
Mm.
we seem to be quibbling sometimes that, you're falling out of line, while the right simply look at the big picture. We used to have the big picture before. We've
Yeah,
lost that. And I really think, I hope on Saturday's reading, you can inspire the soul so that we can be energized to continue to organize the hard work of bringing about fundamental change for all of us. Thank you very much, my sister, and see you
Thank you
then.
so much. It was a privilege.
We enjoyed it very much.
Thank
So,
you.
the event, friends and comrades, Political Revival, takes place at the Forge, the commune in Braamfontein, and it's entitled The Crisis of Inhumanity Under the Shadow of Gaza and Stilfontein. Features Haidar Eid, Sabel Mguni, Deepika Nutt, Stacey Hardy, Hassan Logat, Dr. Phillippa Yav de Villiers, Kabele Mofokeng, and Ellen Kolsky Horwitz. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we see you soon on
Thank you
Saturday.
so much. Okay, thank you.